welcome to Meet the Candidate. My guest for this session is Kevin Morrison, and he is running for Spokane School District 81, Director Position 4. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
So this is the opportunity to put some personality behind the names that appear on the ballot, and I just start with, where did you grow up and go to school?
Oh, good. I grew up in northwest Spokane by Audubon Park. I'm a second-generation Spokaneite. I went to Finch Elementary and Glover, which was a junior high at that time, and then Shadle Park. I then went to Eastern Washington University and received a degree in communications from Eastern. So I'm Spokane native, Spokane born and raised, and other than the 4 years where I moved to Boise and met my wife in a mid-career shift in my previous life, I've been in Spokane my entire life.
Okay. So what were your non-school, your informal activities? What drew your attention?
Growing up,
Growing
I
up,
assume?
yeah.
Oh,
What
yeah.
drew your
You know,
attention?
I think I was pretty much a typical boy growing up in the 60s and 70s. I enjoyed photography and movie making early on, which probably led to my later career and interest in communications and communications delivery. I loved photography, had my own dark room and did that. My mother was a hobbyist artist, but very good, and I think I kind of followed in somewhat those footsteps as well, and enjoyed music tremendously. I never played an instrument well. I think I lasted about 30 seconds in my first violin lesson, and they said that was enough. So, but other than that, I really appreciate music as well, and always have growing up.
Okay. When you, what was your first job? I like to find out. Those are always formative to how we see
You mean the
world.
kind where you suddenly realize that somebody named withholding is taking money from you?
Or even an earlier one. If
Well,
there's
yeah, I mean,
one where-
I obviously, I think I had the paper route for the Spokesman Review up on the northwest part of town for...
It's too bad we don't have kids with paper routes
Yeah,
anymore, but-
no kidding. Morning and evening paper routes. I'm dating myself there. But I had an afternoon paper route for about a year or two. My first job was in the food business. My father was a meat cutter for Rosars for 25, 30 years, and of course, so it's a good segue to get a job as a bag boy in the, now courtesy clerks inside of our supermarkets, and that's what I did. Worked about 20 hours a week all through high school.
So what do you think you learned from that experience?
You learn, it's enormous. Showing up on time, as my father used to say, is 3/4 the battle. You come when you're scheduled, you call when, if it's short notice, you show your eagerness to work. I think that's where I learned a lot of those character traits, but then my father always instilled that in me, as did my mother. Blue collar workers, the graduates of Rogers and LC themselves, and they worked hard, and I think they instilled in us that vision of you work hard for what you get and the rewards can come.
Okay. And so have you had, what's been your connection with Spokane Public Schools since going through it yourself?
Yes, exactly. Actually, I was in on the private side of things for 25 years, and I had the opportunity to take kind of I call it a brass parachute instead of a gold parachute in my previous career. So I took a year off, and I volunteered during that year. My daughter was going to middle school at the time, a challenging time for anybody, and my wife and my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and I just had I was fortunate because I was able to volunteer. And I volunteered with the school district people, and I should have known because my brother and sister went into education that these were my people. This was wonderful. And I volunteered to help with the 2003 bond and levy that was passed, first one passed in quite a few years in the history of the district, and we passed it, and I just enjoyed it so much, and the people I was working with, when an opportunity came for even a part-time job with the district in their capital projects office in communications, I took it, and I've never looked back.
Okay. Well, you've sounds like you've gotten well settled here in Spokane. Have you had some travel experiences that have given you some different perspectives you bring to the job?
I have a little bit, not nearly as much as I'd like. I'm I'm a workaholic. It's something my wife supports me in my career tremendously, and I would not be where I am without her. I think we've traveled around the United States quite a bit, wherever my job has taken me, or wherever seminars, workshops have, or summer vacations with the kids. I did live 4.5 years in Boise. I lived about a year in Kennewick prior to that. So I've seen a little bit, lived outside or greater than the country. Obviously the Caribbean, I've been to Hawaii, I've been to outside of the country in Canada, not extensive travel. It's on the bucket list now that I'm officially retired. As of tomorrow, I'll officially be retired with the school district in my current role, and hope to do some traveling in the future.
Okay. So life is going well, and you're going to be officially retired. Why volunteer for public service in an elected office?
Sure, that's a great question. I think it's comes down to this. I love this district. I wouldn't be where, and I love public schools. To me, are an institution that we have so few of institutions that we can really trust and we rely on at a local level, that you just really can have input and impact on. So the institution itself is important to me. This November, we're going to be losing over 20 years of experience, 3 board members in one day. And I have 16 years with the school board, and I'm running, and I feel that I want to give back at the end of my career, back to that institution I love. And it is pretty much a volunteer position, and it requires 15 to 20 hours worth a week, because I've been to over 100 board meetings, and I know the amount that goes into it. I think I'm going into it eyes wide open.
Okay. So then perhaps you could do a good job then of explaining to people what exactly does a school board member do? What's the duties of the office?
Well, the short answer is they hire and fire the superintendent, and they make board policy, and they pass budget. Actually, it's a lot bigger than that. There are 185 board policies. Those are reviewed constantly, about 10 or 15 for every board session. And as you know, in policy and procedure, the devil's in the details, and a comma or a shall versus a will can mean enormous things. Their job is that oversight, obviously reaching out to the community and being available for your constituency across the district. We are an at-large district. We don't have individual districts for candidates. So whatever decision you make for a Wilson Elementary, you're also going to be making that same decision for a Bemis Elementary. And you have to always keep those things in mind in your decision-making process. And that's part of what they do. They help set the policies, procedures, and budgets that are going to impact the individual classrooms. I think being in my previous role, I was a communications director at the district, so I did a lot of outreach to the community, city, county, and just interactions with those agencies as well, but also with our constituents who were concerned about individual issues. And it really is just being accessible and being able to respond, because I find that Spokane, the natives of Spokane here are pretty smart, and if you give them, let them hear the reason behind these policies and procedures, they accept them and understand them. And I think that's the primary role of a school board member.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a last minute here for your wrap-up, your elevator speech. Why should people vote for Kevin Morrison for Spokane District 81 School Board?
Well, I think I've probably articulated it already. In November, there's going to be 20 years of institutional knowledge leaving, and no other candidate in any of the positions that are coming in have the 17 and a half years of experience working inside of Spokane Public Schools. 7 of those are on the leadership's cabinet, on the superintendent's cabinet, and leadership decisions every single Monday morning, sometimes difficult conversations, as well as closed board meetings, as well as the community representative for the district. And I think I come with a wealth of experience. I think I can hit the ground running on day one. And you ask any school board member who has been a school board member for our district, and they'll say the first 2 years, you're just trying to figure out what the organization, where all the pieces of this puzzle are. and I come in ready to work for the people of Spokane through, be it locally or at the state legislature level for them with these issues of education.
All right. Well, that's a good wrap up, Kevin, and good luck in your campaign.
Thank
and
you
enjoy
so
it.
much. I appreciate it.